2016 IT Capstone presentations. I know you guys are dying to get this started and over with. But today's presentations are primarily around ATC. First one is going to be on our faculty website, development website, Center for Faculty. And then the second presentation is going to be talking about a content management system using SharePoint. So without further ado, we have the CIO of the college here, Will Bear. So
Okay.
And all of our advisory committee members. It's Monday. Mondays are bad days for that. So anyway, go ahead, guys. Yeah, I didn't think
You're
you
okay
guys
with
would
that.
be too crushed about having a small audience.
Well, we're the ATC Center for Faculty Integrated Capstone Project Team for Spring 2016. I'm Tyler Miller.
I'm Zach Blatz.
Lucas Klein.
Katie Berger.
Dimitri Olin.
So the purpose of our project was, currently the faculty has a website that has some information. It's kind of sparse, but it's information for the faculty as far as learning curriculum or events going on. And what our client was looking for was an expansion on that website, or really something to replace it, something with a lot more information as far as continuing education for faculty. This really is centered around the faculty. What previously existed was really for anybody at the college. This is intended to be centered around new instructors. It would be something that includes news, communication tools, learning resources, that kind of thing. So some of the basic work requirements is what we started with. We needed to allow the website access over the internet, obviously. We wanted to have some different faculty development tools and resources. We'll really go into more of this in a bit. We wanted a calendar of events and then maybe a blog, a communication tool, some way to say this is what's going on, here's events that are coming up. Another aspect that we had planned on putting in here was an ability to interface with the document control system that another group had been working on. We'll talk more about that in a second. And then we also wanted a link to the current Anoka Tech webpage. Some of the objectives we ended up getting from that, and this is how we kind of, for our plan anyway, this is how we wanted to accomplish those goals. We were going to research different centers for learning. So what are other schools doing? How do they communicate their information? What's this structure look like? That's the design aspect. We intended on doing some faculty interviewing. You know, what do you want out of this? What would be a valuable tool for you to use? We needed to set up the network. That's just so that we could get set it up on the network so it's accessible. We wanted to test the website, make sure we could use it on different browsers, different operating systems. We developed documentation, and then of course our presentation today, and we had a $0 budget. That's what we started out with. And then as we went on, so kind of a breakdown of that. So we did start, we researched different institutions, and this really is where the bulk of the project came from. Understanding what other schools were doing, and then how to implement that here. So we used Hamlin University was one that we looked at. That was really from the client. That was really what the model. We want something like this. This is what this is well executed. So we use that a lot. We wanted to look at different frameworks. You know, what's basic, what are other ways these websites are built, that kind of thing. And then content. What do these websites have? Is it libraries, information? We have faculty learning information, new faculty materials. So you get a new instructor. Here's a kind of a set of things, curriculum, or a set of information that they'll need to really succeed at ATC. And then syllabus resources. Again, just some more to add to the library. And then we really, from that, wanted to look at what would be the best tool to use to develop that website. We started with, we'll get into that later, we have our learning lessons at the end, so we'll talk about that then. Next, our plan had been to interview faculty. What this ended up resulting, we did a lot of research, but it was going to be hard without having it live. to show, okay, here's what it is, what do you want out of it. And I think there's still, the faculty here might not know exactly even what this is and what it's capable of. So what we ended up kind of doing as far as this, instead of putting a survey out now, it's integrated into the website. So as it's used, they can put in their feedback. I'd like to see this on here. I don't think this needs to be on there. So this really turned into a feature that's integrated onto the website instead of a standalone before we actually, as we were doing it. We did get some information from the client, obviously, but really to get it out there, it's on the website. So then we were designing and building the website. Can really go more over this when we do the demonstration. We each have a different aspects that we talked about in there. And then the networking aspect, I'll let Lucas talk about this now.
Yes, I was responsible for the networking portion of this project here. We used Azure, which is Microsoft's cloud services. They offer many different services, including website hosting. So set up the account, and there's different ways to get your website onto the cloud. And we researched that and ended up going with WordPress, in part because there's a convenient WordPress app that is on Azure. So we set up that, and then they can create their website right on the cloud with the WordPress app.
And that was really a big part of Lucas's responsibility. We were designing it, but he actually set it up for us really to get started. So he had a big part of it. Not necessarily in the design aspect, but even just getting it out there and started. So he was invaluable as far as that went. After that, we did testing. It didn't go pretty like this. We certainly, as time went on, it was a lot of scope changes. So a lot of flying by the seat of your pants, winging it. We did do testing. It happened throughout. It happened at the end. It works on Chrome, Internet Explorer, Opera, so we had success on different platforms using it. We were able to work on it from home, so it's that we were able to get going. It wasn't all neat and it wasn't right at the end, it was as we were going, and a lot of things changed. Here's our project plan. I can let Zach talk about that.
So I was kind of in charge of setting this up, and this is kind of what I came up with at the beginning of the project when we were developing this, but as things went along, as he said, a lot of scope changes, a lot of things kind of coming at us, so this doesn't really reflect very well what we did. It was a lot of going to Google and looking through WordPress's own documentation and just learning the application. It's something none of us had really worked with before, so a lot of the smaller parts of what we had here that we intended on doing got put to the side so that we could actually, focus more on getting a good understanding of the application we were going to use.
That said and done, the outcomes we did come with, we got most of them. Like I said, scope changes. So really what fell off was interfacing with the document control, the other group. I think we just had a miscommunication with them. It was getting right at the end, and we were going a certain direction, and then we found out maybe that wasn't quite the right way to go. So unfortunately, we kind of fell off the radar. So that aspect of it didn't get, there isn't a page to integrate into the document control. But we do have our end item specifications. We did build a framework, and really, with the research, it's there for people to add on as time goes on. We wanted to make it easy for users, for people to use, especially ones that may not be technically inclined, don't know what PHP is and all that. They can, they have it, and we thought WordPress was a good platform for that once we understood how to use it. We did get a library of downloadable resources. Our client sent us some of that, but there's room to expand upon, obviously. We have a user registration system, a way for different admins, that kind of thing, to get in. You can adjust this or that, the other thing. We can show that in the demonstration. And then, like I said, we did integrate the the survey into the website. So as time goes on, suggestions can be made and changes can be I'll talk about this. So here's some of the challenges and the lessons learned. We'll start with the first one. For the start of a project, we were the group that didn't have a project manager. That I wouldn't say that was a disadvantage, but we either had to decide if we wanted to do it. What we ended up doing was sharing the responsibility with the four of us. Lucas had, of course, a great deal many other things to work on, so we kept him as an informed party, but we split the project management aspect of it between Dimitri, Katie, Zach, and I. And then the project requirements, there wasn't really anything, so we had to kind of figure this out as we went. As time went on, and I think something I learned, definitely more interfacing with the client. I think that's something that I will definitely apply as time goes on. And that's an important aspect, to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And so we're not 2 weeks out and all of a sudden changing a lot of things that we didn't necessarily plan on. So that was a challenge we had, though. I think said and done, I think we did a pretty good job. So, kind of scheduling.
So a lot of us had some pretty heavy course loads. This last one, we were in internships. We all have jobs outside of this, so scheduling a time where we could all get together and work on it as a team was something we had to work with. We did manage to meet pretty regularly, like once a week, Monday or Tuesday nights, work on it for a couple hours together, which is good to communicate with each other about what we should be doing for the next week and keeping things moving. And then, so schedule-wise, that was kind of the challenges we ran into there. Just finding time to meet and getting stuff communicated between us.
Okay. Wait, scope changes. Yeah, I'll talk about that.
Oh, yeah. We did a lot of winging it. We didn't stick to any certain schedule. We kind of met 1 week, talked about what we should work on for the next week, and then we did. And then if we ever kind of got stuck, we would set up a meeting with our client and kind of go from there. So, first out, we started with using Weebly instead of WordPress, and kind of came to realize that you can do a whole lot with Weebly. So, okay, it's time to just learn WordPress and go that route. So, that's what we ended up doing.
And I'll touch on that again. So the building software, we did start with Weebly and then moved to WordPress. The one issue, I guess Dimitri could.
It was hard to customize CSS because it's pre-built and we have to go through each element using developer tools inside the browser and code each element. So that was the hard part about CSS. We tried to make it beautiful and readable for all users.
And we did end up continuing with it just because outside of that that difficulty, it is a great site to build other websites on. The usability of it, being able to connect databases, that kind of thing, it's a good tool. We just had to learn how to use it. So that was probably the challenge there. And then Zach, I think you did the logins. Or no, that was thinking of a different login. We'll go on that in the demonstration login. So when we were working on it, we all were using the same login for the web WordPress website. So it worked. Every now and then you get a construction, a website maintenance error. If somebody did something, then it would probably an opportunity there in the future to. I think you have the ability to have different logins in that website, so we probably could have done that. It was working for us. We didn't have a huge issue with it. It's just every now and then there'd be a maintenance error or something like that. So, From here, we'll go into the demonstration of our website. We'll kind of talk about the back end and the front end of it. Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Right, so to start with, what I worked on a lot with was integrating user logins. So WordPress by itself has its own user database, like a table that keeps track of everybody's registration and whatnot. And so what we just needed to come up with was some sort of way to integrate that like to the user. So we ended up using a plugin called Profile Builder, which allows you to it allows you to use shortcode on the pages that you want, and it'll generate the forms that you need. So your login forms, your create account forms for if you forget your password. It's nice and simple to use, and it gets the job done. So back here, users is WordPress's end, and this is where all the registrations will pop up in. We can demonstrate that later. So I went ahead and I created some different roles here just to show off the abilities that they have. So at the top of the list is an administrator, which has basically all rights over the website. As you can see along the left side here, you have the ability to add plugins, pages, you can edit, delete, update content. It's really a developer mode. Right below that is editor. You still get some of this stuff here. You lose like the ability to add or delete plugins. So you lose more of the developer stuff, but you can still add events to the calendar, as Katie will go over later. And then at the very bottom, just a subscriber, which basically just gives you access to read the page. Read the site. You can't go back in like this or make any changes. So right now we're in an admin account. And as you can see, you can get and then we do have two different options for logging in. We were able to get a widget down on the bottom here working with the login. You can also go right at the top to the login page. Same thing. Edit events. So if we go on the back end, you do lose a lot of the developer tools back here. So, I mean, it's a nice system that WordPress has by itself. It's already mostly set up for you. It's just, you know, finding the right plugin that you want for your users to interact with it. So I have a whole lot more.
I set up a couple things I set up. We did set up analytics for this website. So this is, we actually just made a Gmail account, but whoever uses this will be able to track the people coming to the website, who's using it, who's visiting it, where it's coming from. We didn't spend a lot of time on it, but it's there and it's set up. So if that's something that you have the ability to build reports, what are the things you want to look at? What are the ages of the people getting on? Where are they from? What are they doing? So that capability is built in. We also created a YouTube channel for this. So we have one playlist called Learning, and this is on the website. So as channels are added, you can see those on the bottom, but it's on the home page. Just a way to share videos and that kind of thing. There's a lot of educational tools, even on YouTube, and who'd have thunk it, but it's all there. So there's the playlist. So that's what I added. And like Zach was saying, the WordPress has plugin capabilities, and just what was already built in is pretty nice. If you didn't know what you were doing, as we learned, if you didn't know what you were doing with WordPress, it's pretty easy to figure out. So that was our experience.
So under difficulties, I said I was working mostly about CSS styles. So almost. Yeah. So login. Capstone, yeah, so under Capstone. And
I think it's my computer. It was pretty slow at my house.
what I meant when I talked about CSS, what actually we did.
All those are available for new faculty to have.
Yeah, so really what we ended up building was a framework really, and how it's ready to be, we have the pieces there, the pages there. This is what other places are doing, other schools are doing, this is the kind of information they have. That's what we ended up, we didn't actually add that in, didn't go so far as to add that information. We're not faculty development experts, so you wouldn't want us recommending things probably. But the pieces are there to be expanded upon in the future. So that's really what the scope of this project changed into, and that's what we ended up accomplishing. Can we answer any questions about the website?
Go ahead.
With the flux and requirements, what would you guys do next time in terms of trying to approach that?
I know for me, I would probably try to plan out a little better. I had a pretty heavy course load, the internship, classes, and then this. I wasn't anticipating, I wasn't quite ready for it, so I think that's something I try to prepare for, scheduling and that kind of thing. As far as for the actual project, I liked WordPress. There's further capabilities, I think, as far as using files, so let it put files in and that kind of thing. We didn't really explore that option. what we wanted to focus on was something that would be easy for somebody to pick up after us and use. So that maybe be something we could look at in the future. That's an option you have. Yeah. Does that answer? For me anyway, I don't.
So how did you guys go about learning WordPress?
Just kind of
Clicking
playing around with
buttons.
it. Yeah.
Any videos that you found to be helpful, or did you go right to the WordPress site and you pulled their documentation?
Yeah, they have some different tutorials and stuff.
Mhm.
That's what you didn't show.
Documentation page.
Some of your documentation, there you go.
Okay, yeah.
And then from in here, yeah, lots of how-tos to start out, and then anything else you might, have questions about, go ahead and search for, bring it up. So this was a very helpful page.
So would you have preferred writing it from scratch? Because you're all capable of writing it from scratch. Why'd you go to WordPress? Why did you look at Weebly? I'm just curious.
We started with Weebly because that was, as far as what we needed to do, that looked like that would be the simplest thing to start with. None of us have used a website building tool before. We have pretty much built everything by scratch, so.
Interesting.
We went to Weebly, didn't have the capabilities that we really needed. And then hearing from what some of the other groups were doing and what they were gonna start using, it sounded like WordPress was the way to go. And I think because there's two different WordPress, there's WordPress.com and WordPress.org. And when we were first looking at WordPress.com, there's not a lot of capabilities with that. It's
Pretty
a blogging
limited.
tool.
Yeah.
Good to know.
WordPress.org is much more expansive. So that was, once we learned that and saw what you could do with this, it was, we're glad we went with it.
Oh.
And it's easy to pass on to the next person who's going to be utilizing that website.
So with the plugins, you had a couple different plugins, was that right, that you guys are using? Did you try to stay within, are they paid for plugins, or did you try to grab them out of the WordPress directory?
They're from WordPress.
Okay.
So they're supported by WordPress and they're updated when WordPress is updated.
Good. What about that, the survey data? What, is that going into the embedded MySQL database that comes with WordPress, or where's that going?
That's a plugin too.
Oh,
It's a database plugin that works with the form plugin that we have. So anything that is submitted into that form is then.
it has its
collected by-
own table then?
Yep.
Gotcha.
How did you learn about Google Analytics, and why did you decide to add that as a requirement?
Actually, from business intelligence, we first learned about that. I just thought it'd be a useful tool just as far as when you have a website and implement a website, you want to know what people are using it for, when they're visiting it. It really helps you tailor your website to your audience, I think. So that's really why we added it in there. I think it'll be a good resource in the future.
Yeah, it's very useful.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was in your requirements, so that's excellent.
And I don't know if
It's a bonus
initially we
for
had
us.
it in there, but it's something we added later.
After meeting.
Yeah.
So with your project planning process, did you incorporate, you said you were winging it for a while, or often. So there was no change management process that you put into your project plan?
We had a change management process.
Okay.
I guess I never saw it all the way to the published documents.
Is that a lesson learned?
That would be a lesson learned there.
Just
Uh,
joking.
yeah.
As a project management instructor. Yeah, but I mean, but it's real life. That is real life in the IT world, and that's one of the reasons projects aren't successful, because that scope and people are winging it,
Yeah.
right? I mean, because that's,
That worked out.
yeah. And that's exactly what they say in industry too. Oh, that's fun.
I could certainly see how you would want to record that information as you're going, because if you made a change and you want to go back, or You have it documented somewhere.
Especially for a paying client, for
Right.
someone that would be paying for your services,
Right.
that's something that's very, you want to manage that very carefully. Do you think it was, and I know the project manager thing, do you think that hurt you at all, not having a project manager?
Yes, if we could be frank, because none of us wanted to be a project manager. And then we were kind of forced into either one of us being it or splitting the responsibility. I think it worked out. I think we worked well together. I really like this group.
You did good communicating,
Yeah.
which is key. So, and just making sure when we met, we set up our next meeting time.
Yeah,
So,
but it was kind of a gut punch when we didn't have a dedicated project manager, and everyone else did. So,
So your team chose not to have one?
no, we didn't get a choice. That was
Ooh,
what happened.
well, you
Well,
could
you
have
had to have
picked
a
one.
choice. Yes, you
Oh,
did have a
but
choice.
yeah,
I
Because
see.
some
Yeah.
of
You
some
did
of
have
the
a
team
choice.
could be-
Between the five of us.
Yeah.
we
Yes,
could've
between the
chosen
five of you,
project
yeah.
manager.
That was the,
Yeah.
because no one stepped up.
Okay.
no.
So no one wanted to be the.
Right.
No, we
Yeah.
had never, we didn't initially interview or do any of that stuff.
So would you use WordPress again on another project?
Why not?
Yeah,
I think so.
like play around with different themes and layouts and stuff. See what else they have.
Now it's the website building tool that we know better than anything else, so
Right.
it would definitely be something to start with over, picking up a new tool.
Or starting from scratch, because
Yeah.
you decided that this was actually better, you think, than doing it from
I think it would
scratch?
be a better outcome than
Yeah.
if we would have done these from scratch.
Yeah,
We wouldn't have had as much,
even as much as we have in there now, yeah. That's an advantage with Weebly is with the teams, especially and all that PHP, HTML, basic code is already there for you. And then you can add on to it, so.
Did your team have expertise in PHP? And if you did you use it with WordPress?
We, not really, because we're just getting the class now,
Mhm.
like it just finished, so previous to that, I don't think any of us had any PHP experience. I didn't even know what it was.
This is a good learning
So,
experience.
it was,
Mhm.
yes.
Good.
It did, as time went on and we're learning in that class, it did start to explain, oh, okay, these were these pages before this, so. It did help as far as understanding the website structure that Weebly already has there for you. So, but yeah, before that, we didn't have any
Okay.
knowledge.
Thank you.
Excellent work. Thank you, guys.